I honestly feel like Steve Jobs right now, like I'm about to do a TED Talk. Hey everyone, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you a bullet to list of ways you can mature through God and how I did it through Him. I hope this video guides and helps you with your personal journey with Christ. And yes, I will be doing this video standing up because I did not want to sit down for it because there's a lot to say. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. The first thing that can help your maturity in Christ is by giving all your situations and worries to God. At the end of 2022, I wanted to prioritize my relationship with God. But God has revealed to me in multiple occasions the only way to do that was by removing the situations and distractions out of my life and just giving it to God. And that could be distractions or relationships or even work, hobbies, or lifestyle habits that will deter you from having a prosperous relationship with Christ. And the best way to understand and come to terms with it is that the moment you give something to God and commit to letting God do the work, you best believe it's going to happen. Also, whenever you're giving situations to God, you need to understand that you're no longer in control. Turning over the situation to Him allows you to be able to let go and accept that whatever happens is the will of the Lord concerning you. And personally, I think it's important when you really give all the situations to God and letting Him take care of it and letting Him deal with it, because normally that's when you see the blessings, is when you do not overstep, but instead let Christ handle it. Let Christ be the 5 steps ahead of you and not you being the 5 steps ahead of Christ. And honestly, with me just giving my situations to Him, it's less stress on me, less worry, because if it doesn't happen or does happen the way I wanted to, it was God's doing. You know, I didn't have to overstep. I didn't have to feel regret about my actions because I let God take care of it. So another thing I really recommend is realigning yourself with Christ. We're human, and I think everyone needs to accept the fact that we're human. So there are going to be times where we stumble. There's going to be times where we mess up places. Like, I think people forget that, and they just have such a high standard of themselves that they're not supposed to mess up. They're not supposed to fail. They're just supposed to be perfect all the time. But that's not how God designed us. So realigning yourself with Christ is understanding you're going to live by His righteousness. You're going to live by His laws, by His commands. Like, you're going to live by His path and that He has for you. And whenever you're realigning yourself with Christ, ask the Lord to reveal His desire for your life. Where do you want me to be in life? What do you want me to do for you? How can I be that faithful servant for you? A testimony of faith for myself. Whenever I realign myself with Christ, I immediately notice a change. Like, immediately. It's just how I present myself. My mindset is different. And that's because I was really focused on just living for God. Like, I just wanted to make sure I was the best example of a woman of God that I could be. There's things that God is still working on in my life, and I ask the Lord to reveal those things to me. Anything that is not of Him that is happening in my life, please reveal it to me, and so I can change it, so I can be better for Christ, so I can be better at bringing souls to His kingdom. Another way that you can really mature in Christ is listening to His voice. One thing I really notice is that when you grow with God, God will reveal Himself to you more and more. But I noticed whenever I started reading my word more and really tuning and praying to God and asking Him to reveal Himself to me more and more, I started hearing more of His voice. I started hearing more of His guidance. That comes with submitting. That comes to living holy. That comes to allowing yourself to be used by God. And that's when you'll start hearing, like, Lord, I never would have thought of that, but obviously that's you working in me. And whenever you know God is speaking to you, it will be wise. It will be encouraging. The way I personally know God is speaking to me is when it's a soft, slow-speaking, monotone version of my own voice. And of course it's in my head unless God is speaking to me through someone else. So definitely heed to His voice and listen to Him and understand the importance, and ask God to give you discernment between what are your thoughts and what He's saying. The next tip, if you want to mature in Christ, is deleting social media. There's so many things I could say about social media. I could have a whole 15-minute video of why social media is terrible for people who are Christians. And it's so apparent that it's bad for you. Like, even social media itself is telling you to limit your screen time because they know how addicting and distracting it can be. And what people don't realize is that you're taking all that time spending watching other people's lives when this whole time you could have been seeing how you can better yours, how you can grow closer with God. And personally for me, that is a lot of different information you are processing at once that is going into your brain and your eyesight. You know, eyes are the window to the soul, and whatever you're letting into your eyes by constantly scrolling on your phone. That's so much information. That's so much like thought going into your head that's not even of your own. Like, that's distractions. That's literally other people's lives that are being inside of yours and inside of your mind now because you want to be on your phone for like 4 hours. It's not worth it. The more we feed into social media and how they expect us to live and how we should live by their expectations, the less satisfied we feel. You know, we're so focused and consumed by other people's lives that we're neglecting ours. And ultimately, that is what the enemy wants. He doesn't want you to take time to focus on Christ. He doesn't want you to take time to reflect and see how you can grow as a person and be better for yourself. So it's important. Another thing that I absolutely emphasize is getting in his word. Buy a physical Bible. It's so important to buy a Bible because you want to physically see these verses. And there's so much power in his word. And it's important to have a physical Bible so you can really meditate on his verses. I recommend taking notes on the verses that you highlight. Get index cards to write out the verses so you can memorize them. If you physically study these verses, you will have a likely chance of retaining the verse and applying it towards your life. I'm very head set on reading his word because reading his word allows you to have a better understanding. A lot of Jesus's parables in the Gospels are great examples because they are real life examples that people can relate to. So with that relation, they're able to have an understanding of the message God is trying to convey. Plus, there's so much wisdom in these verses and understanding and discernment and just clarity on some of these verses. I personally call them punchline verses because I think all the verses are great in the Bible, but you always have that one that really just stands out to you. Like, that is what I needed to hear. Like, that was it. For example, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for the good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. You know, so it's like things like that that just really stand out to you. Those punchline verses, write them down, memorize them. This could help you, especially when it comes to spiritual warfare, when it comes to preaching the gospel to someone. Reciting these verses could literally just be that one step of getting them closer to Christ. Getting in his word is like the number one way because you see God working with these stories. You see God working in the Bible. And this is like, wow, like if you see how God is working then, God is still working today. All this stuff still applies for today. And it just shows you the importance of why we get in his word to understand and to learn more of him because we see how powerful he truly is. And we're only able to get that and get that understanding from reading his word. So I know a lot of people are thinking it's easier said than done. I want my life to be a living testimony of how much you can grow when you really give your life to Christ. I am not the same person I was, and that is because I chose to submit myself to God, to be that vessel, to be that example for people. And with that, God was really able to open himself up to me, and I was able to open myself up to him. And sometimes all you have to do is just make that choice. And when you make the choice, your life will be 10 times better than what you even thought it would be. Your happiness before Christ wouldn't even compare to the happiness you'll feel after with Christ. As always, be blessed, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.